Hey everybody, I'm Brooke Hardy, lawyer and legal translator. You have probably heard over the last couple of days that President Trump has floated the idea of nationalizing elections, meaning moving the election process under federal control instead of state control. And look, I am not here as a political pundit. There are plenty of people arguing whether it's right or wrong or smart or scary. I'm here to answer a much simpler question. Is it even legally possible? First, what does nationalizing something even mean? In real life, nationalizing an industry means the federal government temporarily takes over private companies or systems to deal with a major emergency. And in US history, that only happens when there's a war, or the economy is about to collapse, or some critical national service completely breaks, like the railroad system or something. And it's almost always temporary. And the goal is to fix the crisis and hand things back to the private sector as soon as possible. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, the government took controlling stakes in some massive companies to stop the entire economy from imploding. And during World Wars I and II, the government essentially took over steel production, shipbuilding, railroads, anything needed to win a war. The philosophy is basically right the ship and then give it back. But here is the constitutional key, okay? And this is important. The Constitution does not give the federal government general power over everything, even in emergencies. In fact, federal powers are listed in just a couple of pages of the Constitution, 2 short pages. And they have to do with things like regulating interstate commerce, managing money and banking, providing national defense, big stuff like that. Then the Constitution says everything not specifically given to the federal government belongs to the states. That's the 10th Amendment. So the system works like this. The federal government gets these enumerated powers in the 2 pages, and states keep everything else. So why could banking, wartime production, and transportation all be nationalized? Because they already fall under federal powers. Money, a federal power. Interstate commerce, federal power. War and defense, very much a federal power. So in emergencies, the government can temporarily step into private industry and take over to carry out those powers that it's been given. Now, here's where elections are different. Running elections ain't a federal power. Not only is it not listed as one of the federal powers, it is specifically assigned in the Constitution to the states. Article 1, Article 1, Section 4 says, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. Congress can tweak the timing and a couple of little rules around the process, but the machinery of elections belongs to the states. So even if Congress said, wow, elections are a critical service that is failing, this is an emergency, it still wouldn't matter. Because unlike banking or wartime production, the federal government was never given that power in the first place, which means there's only one way to nationalize elections: amend the Constitution. And amending the Constitution is intentionally brutal, okay? Here's what it takes. First, an amendment must pass 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate. Then it must be approved by 3/4 of all of the states. So 38 out of 50 states. That's why we've only had 27 amendments in over 235 years. And the most recent one took 203 years to finish ratifying. So what's the practical takeaway? Nationalizing industries has happened in emergencies because those industries fall under federal powers. Nationalizing elections is a totally different animal because elections are constitutionally a state function. To change that would require a constitutional amendment, which requires massive bipartisan support and agreement across almost all of the country. In other words, it'd take a lot.